of all, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to Medieval Archives for having me today as part of my virtual book tour, in celebration of my book, Cesare Borgia in a Nutshell. I'm sure many of you have heard of the Borgia family and their reputation as the most notorious family in history. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the top 5 Borgia myths and the truth behind them. At 5, we have Rodrigo Borgia, aka Alexander VI, making a pact with the devil. This really began with the preaching of Girolamo Savonarola, the fanatical Dominican monk of Florence, who was very much against Alexander and his corrupt papacy. Sadly for Alexander, the idea stuck, so much so that in 1611, Philippe de Mornay wrote that Rodrigo made a pact with the devil while studying at Bologna, promising his soul in return for the papacy. Is this true? More than likely it's just another way of sullying both the Catholic Church and the Borgia name. At 4, we have Cesare wearing a mask to cover his syphilis-ravaged face. Did he wear a mask? There are reports of Il Valentino going out with his face covered by a mask. Did he have syphilis? Yes, he most certainly did. But even up until the end of his life, Cesare was described by everyone as being exceptionally handsome. It was only his enemies, and even then not all of them, who stated that his face was marked by the French disease. Cesare was an incredibly private person in many ways, often making use of disguises when he went out in public. The mask would have been a way of hiding his identity. At 3, we have Lucrezia being an adulterous poisoner. Legend says that Lucrezia Borgia poisoned her enemies using a ring that contained the infamous Cantarella poison. There is absolutely no evidence of this in any contemporary documents. Instead, she is described as being incredibly sweet and pious. It must be remembered that she was surrounded by death. Her alleged lover Perotto, as well as her second husband Alfonso, were both murdered. So would she really follow in the footsteps of those guilty of causing her such pain? It's true that she did take lovers, however, which was normal for many at the time. These may not have all been sexual relationships, however. The letters between her and Pietro Bembo can be considered as love letters. However, she was loyal and respectful of her husband, her third and last, at the time. At 2, we have Cesare committing the sin of fratricide. On the evening of the 14th of June, 1497, following an evening at his mother's vineyard, Juan Borgia went missing. He was found 2 days later, his dead body floating in the Tiber with 9 stab wounds. There were, of course, many suspects, including the Sforza and Orsini families, and even Geoffrey Borgia. However, it was whoever it was, the investigation into the murder was dropped soon after. Cesare's name did not surface as a suspect until 1 year later in Venice, where there were many allies of the Orsini, a family whom Juan had gotten on the wrong side of many times by heading attacks against them and their lands. Whilst the Orsini were the most likely to have committed the crime, Cesare's name stuck like glue. Juan's wife believed him guilty, as did the Spanish royal family. However, whilst Cesare was guilty of murder when it came to others, given the method of the murder, done in secret, compare it to Alfonso de Aragona's murder, Cesare does not seem to have been the culprit. It's much more the type of poorly planned, but planned by a family bent on revenge for a personal slight. And in first place, the incest myth. Everyone thinks of incest when you mention the name Borgia, but there is simply no concrete evidence for it. Yet again, the rumours were started by the enemies of the family, particularly after Lucrezia's divorce from Giovanni Sforza. During the divorce proceedings, Giovanni stated that the only reason Pope Alexander VI wanted the divorce was so he could keep Lucrezia for himself. And as with all rumours, it grew, with people saying Cesare's love for his sister. He stated that she was only one of 3 women he ever respected, was unnaturally close, so they must have been lovers. It has also been said that the Infans Romanus was the child of Cesare and Lucrezia. Had there been anything going on, however, the papal master of ceremonies would have recorded it. After all, he wrote about the infamously lewd banquet of chestnuts. But there is nothing mentioned at all, and the only evidence is from exceptionally biased sources written simply to demonise the Borgia name. So there we have it, 5 of the biggest Borgia myths busted. Thank you once again to Medieval Archives for letting me loose here today, and to all of you for dropping by on this stop of my virtual book tour. There's much more myth busting in my book, Cesare Borgia in a Nutshell. The truth is definitely way more interesting than the rumours.